All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Jazz Guitar Hour at UIS, literally at UIS, the University of Illinois in Springfield, the capital of the beautiful state of Illinois. All right. Thank you for joining me. My name is Jose Gobo. I'm here every Wednesday fighting with this microphone. All right. Uh, yeah, I opened it up with a tune by Antonio Carlos Jobim, not one of the most well known, also not one of the least well known. It's called Caminhos Cruzados. And feel free, let me see, I'm gonna switch here so I can see if there's anybody watching. Fantastic. If you have suggestions of things that you want to hear or things that I could talk about, please don't hesitate in saying in the comments. And can also come. You can also tell me later uh, for next week. You know, whatever you wanna. If you have topics that you are interested in, associated with guitar playing, with jazz or with Brazilian music or anything. And cool. One thing that I had in mind to talk about today, just one of the many beautiful tunes by Tony Horta. This one called Gershwin. Uh, I want to talk about the harmony of that song a little bit, like a few unusual choices. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna play this one. That's why I'm trying to adjust the microphone here because I don't really know how to play. I don't have a chord melody prepared for it. You know, I could do a little bit. I can do a little bit of both, but I think it's gonna be more effective if I try to sing. You know, a little bit out of tune, if you don't mind. Oh man. Gershwin. This one I actually transcribed the chords that Toninho played on his recording. Which album is that on? It's on Moonstone, the album. The album is it's a beautiful album. That's the only. I think it's the only track that he plays just guitar and vocals. Everything else has a band. But this one is just him. He actually told me that the recording of this, he recorded in L.A. with a trio version. With it's a jazz swing tune, and he recorded it with John Petitucci on bass and Peter Erskine on drums. But he didn't get. I mean, he said it was a nice vibe, but it didn't fit with the rest of the album. So he just decided to record it again by himself. And I'll try to stay pretty close to the chords that he plays on that album. He recorded it again on an album called Serenade, which is live. And yeah, it's a homage to George Gershwin, the composer of I Got Rhythm, among others. Yeah, so let's see. Right. Yeah, I transcribed it. Doesn't mean I can play it. But just a song that it's on my mind. I think there's some very interesting choices here. Yeah, it's mostly in the key of G. And I said it's a swing. It's a let's see the whatever. Um, it's in the key of G. What else did I say? Yeah, on the recording, I was gonna say something else, but let's keep piling up information. On the recording of that he did on the album Moonstone, there's actually he plays acoustic guitar and sings, and there's also some electric guitar overdubbed. Beautiful, very, very worth checking it out. So, oh yeah, the thing that I was gonna mention, that is a swing feel. However, I remember when the first times that I heard it, to me it felt more like a pop groove, especially. Let's spend some time on the introduction here. So, the way I'm playing here, if you're thinking in like a swing for like one, two, the 1, 2, 3, 4, one, two, right? It works, but it can the vibe that I was getting when I first heard it, it's more like a two, ba, dum, ka-dum, da, ka-tu, ka-dum, ba, da, boom, dum, ta, ka-dum. Just an intro, sorry. So either way, however you hear it. So if you're a guitar player, you're probably wondering about these chords, right? Just Tony Arta didn't reinvent the wheel, but he did some turns that are very unexpected. So here the first chord is G major, the second chord is A half diminished, and it's not like he's playing. You can clearly see a shape of the C minor triad on top here, which is a half diminished chord. It's basically a minor chord with the bass over the sixth, right? So if you think of it, probably a shape that everybody would be familiar with, if you know half diminished chords, this one is pretty popular, right? But we have the open A here. I don't know if he was thinking about that when he composed or if he found it afterwards. But the genius thing to me is this little movement here. It still sounds like a half diminished chord, but now he's adding the 11th and the flat 13th. So I think it's pretty cool. And then what he does, if you just hear the first few bars, the first. It sounds like there's a lot going on, and there is. What is he doing? He's playing G major and then A half diminished, which is the sound or C minor, like C minor over A, borrowed from the G minor tonality, maybe. Okay, and then what happens here? He plays this voice in here, or sometimes like this, sometimes like this, but it's G major over B that Tonio uses a lot, this type of sound. Here making use of the open G string. So he didn't basically came back to G but kept the bass movement going up. Or that's basically the sound of it, but he makes it cooler. And then check it out. That's not what he plays. He plays. Yeah. So the destination point, you hear a bunch of different sounds, but we get to a clear A7. Right, so it's the G, the 1, A half diminished, borrowed from the minor key, and then the G, back to G but over B, and then he does I think the destination is A, right? The chord that really matters here the most is A7, and he does this preparation. He does F sharp 7 to F7 to E7, which E is the 5 of A. Well, So, like tritone sub, I don't know exactly what he could be just thinking of the five of the five of the five of the. But it's very interesting here to see how he handles the voice leading here. Like from, it sounds like you could also call, instead of calling it a G major over B, you can call it a B minor flat 6, right? So B minor and then F sharp 7. He keeps the top note the same, but then you could think that he's preparing to go back to B minor, but he's not. And then, since he did F7, he could resolve it the most obvious way, going up a fourth. And the second most obvious thing is to go down half step, and that's what he does. So it's crazy, pero no mucho. And then the voice leading here that was mentioned. How he, from F7 to E7 to A7, I could be wrong, but I don't think they share one single note, those three chords, which is pretty hip. Yeah, exactly. Yep, not one single note shared. So it's kind of funny because usually when we talk about voice leading, the first thing is to keep as many chords, to share as many chords as possible, right? But here he's changing the. It's not like he's doing this, like changing everything. He's changing only one note. He's changing it like the every note changes. He's not changing just one note. He's changing every 5 notes in the chord. But each one moves to a very. I think is it G. I think it's all chromatic. Yeah, crazy. It's all chromatic. So from F7, the F goes down a half step. And then the A goes down a half step. And then, yeah, almost everybody goes the same shape there. So, but the top note, which is very, very important, probably the ones that we hear the most, it's the bass note and the top note, right? Or the bass and the soprano, if you put. Yeah, the only note that doesn't go down chromatically is the top note, so that's why it has the contrary motion thing. But I think it's super cool how, and then from the E713 to A79, he also managed to find a way to change every single note of the chord. Was he thinking about all of that when he played? I would bet $100 that he was not. But it works, right? This melody on top really sings out. And then he does that sometimes when he goes to the C minor. He makes it major 7 and then moves to the 6. On the melodic minor. Melodic minor? Yeah, C melodic minor. Right, and that's the A section of the tune. And then the bridge, very interesting movements here. Let me just play it first. That's the part that I kept forgetting. It goes to E and then that's what he does. And then hangs on here for a while. Little pedal time. then back to the A. So what happens on the bridge here? Well, to begin with, he does, to go to the bridge, he plays this chord here, which it could be a whole tone sound. It could, it could be lead and dominant, right? The mix of leading with a sharp 4. Yep. But if you play only this voicing, which that's what he does, it leaves it a little. To me, it's a little bit ambiguous because it could also be a half diminished with a 9, natural 9. You know. But that's not the voicing he plays is more of a dominant sound, definitely. And then why does he do that? Because it sounds good. And then after that, so he goes from this half diminished-ish sound to a E, literally half diminished. But then a little bit of a weird movement because he plays. What happens here? So the bridge kind of stays in A flat dominant type of sound, right? So it's almost like it's just E half diminished, and then there's a big A7 to A flat half diminished, to A flat A7 to A flat 7. That's where he stays for a while. But on the E half diminished, he does this. He puts an F on the bass, so it's kind of like a G minor over F. Maybe first G minor over E, which is the E half diminished, then G minor over A. Maybe just to kind of make this the E half diminished a little bit more obscure, like it will be too obvious to go from. So then he does a little thing. The melody's here. Where's the melody? The melody's here. So you hear this third sound going on here. I don't have enough fingers to make both melodies at the same time, but it sounds like this. And then a little G pedal. And when you have a pedal, basically you can do whatever you want if you want to like. That's not what he does. A little cooler than that. He does G, then G over C, and then the C goes down a half step, which is also A major 7 sharp 5 sound. But clearly the what matters here, what's making the whole thing move is the triads, right? Very clearly. And then he moves the root, Once again, what he's doing, at least from my interpretation, the way I think about it, he's not reinventing the wheel. He's not doing anything that was never done before. Maybe things that's the thing, like that are kind of. Let me put it this way: he's doing things that are obvious, but that have not been done too much. I think that's a pretty good description. I can live with that. So where was it? On the little pedal section on the bridge. Because here, so we're here. That's normal, and then kind of weird. And then since we're already here in the sound of, he changes the bass note. You have the triad here is a B triad, right? And and then he just changed the root to D flat, which makes a D flat sus or C sharp. Let's call it C sharp. It makes a C sharp sus sound. So, and then from the D sus, the sus, it's in the sounds like a dominant thing, and then he resolves it in a very obvious way, like going to the. I mean, but you don't hear the tritone, so it's not really dominant. But then he does when he gets to the F sharp minor, he does a very traditional walk down, which you heard it before in many like I think of Benny Golson's Whisper Not, even Around Midnight, depending on how you play, has this thing. You know, it's a very you play the minor chord, the root over the 7, and then a minor 2/5. But then the normal resolution for this guy here, right? That would make it would be but of course he's not the traditional guy, but he's not Schoenberg either. He's not that crazy. So he does something. Instead of playing the D sharp minor, he plays the D sharp minor over A sharp, or over B flat, which is a B flat half diminished. So it doesn't sound like the obvious thing, but it also doesn't hurt. Right? And then he keeps on the 2/5. 2/5. See, this almost works like a 2/5 to A flat. That's where he ends the bridge, but it's kind of strange that the 5 on the 2/5/1 here, it's a minor chord. It's not a dominant chord. So here you are. And you hear this the top melody moving chromatically. Is it chromatic? I think. Of course, yeah. So yeah, don't ask me why does it work. But also don't tell me that it doesn't, because it does. So yeah, here's the bridge for Gershwin. Yeah, and back to the A. So let's play the whole thing. Isn't it beautiful? I think it's gorgeous. See, and it's called Gershwin, so you hear those harmonies that are fairly traditional. You know, this thing going from the 1 to the minor 4, or to the 1 to the 2 half diminished. But you also hear very unusual things, like, so it makes perfect sense. It's a Toninho Horta thing, and Toninho is very inspired by the American Songbook, but also he has his own thing. I was gonna play the song again. Getting distracted here. pa da da pa pa da di pa da pa pa pi da de pa da pa pa da pi pa da di pa pi de pa 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 ora pa 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 ne pa dum ti pa pi pa da pa do pa pa da para pi da de para da pi para da para pa ne na ye 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 tira pa da de para da pi ye 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 da 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 de para de na pam pa para pi para da parum pam pi pa pa pi de da da pam da para pi da de para da pa pa da pa para. Yeah, it's kind of tricky. Tony Marta Gershwin. Now I'm gonna drink some water and play something simple. Right, so that was Satin Doll by Duke Ellington. Kind of, I mean, every time anybody who plays solo guitar, one of the people who really made solo guitar a thing was Joe Pass, right? So it's kind of hard to not to think of Joe Pass when you're playing solo guitar, and why should you not? It's fantastic. Yeah, he really worked out like the concept of like playing some bass lines sometimes, changing textures, you know. But I mean, at the same time as like not everybody recorded solo guitar albums, but every guitar player plays solo guitar right by themselves, by ourselves, by playing. But yeah, I was gonna mention speaking of great guitar players. One of back in the day, I used to do transcriptions. Need to go back to it. Um, but one of the solos that I remember that I transcribed back in the day was Wes Montgomery's solo on Setting Doll. You know what? I think I also transcribed the Joe Pass solo. Yeah, he does like. That's right. I did it. Um, when was it? Was around before college. That was 2005. Woo, great. That was the Wes Montgomery. I think I absorbed a little better. That's the one that starts as. Yeah, but the thing that I want to share, and which I mean, I kind of remember the beginning. I remember I have flashes of it, but one really cool idea that he does on the section. There's a 2-5-1 to F major. I think that's must be the bridge then, right? It is the bridge. Yeah, you're right here. Yeah, that's one that I remember that I use it all the time. You know, not necessarily consciously, but it's just a sound that I like, that kind of stuck, and it's kind of hip because he's one just like Tony Horta doing something kind of obvious, but not really, because the sound of this thing here, like it's a 2-5-1 to F major, so 1 2 3 4. Play the phrase now. Take two. Right? So if you're into, I don't think it's a great idea to use like licks and just copy and paste. But this is one that it's very easy to do. I'll just throw it out there, uh, giving you bad ideas. One. So if you get the you can just hear it again and catch the rhythm. But what is he doing here? I said that it's kind of obvious. If you forget about the first note, it's just the altered scale. Like 2 3 4 1. You know? C altered. Just that is already hip. So, but he adds the first note here. It's kind of really outside. It's he's kind. I think he was thinking maybe. I mean, what if once again if I knew what Wes Montgomery was thinking, uh, I don't know. I would be happier for sure. 2-5 to F. Maybe he was thinking this. I'm pretty sure he was because I've seen him talking about it on one of the few uh, interviews, and he doesn't. There's maybe an hour and a half of Wes videos on YouTube, and that's it. At least that I've seen, and I've searched for it. So I'm pretty sure that that's it so far. But there's one interview in which he talks about Joe DiOrio. It's kind of cool. Like in the 60s, he's like, but the interviewer asks him who he thinks is like a young, up and coming, good guitar player, and he mentions Joe DiOrio. Is he pronounced Joe DiOrio? I think it's DiOrio. And he also mentions a Canadian guy who I forgot the name, but I looked him up. It's easy to find. That he says, "Oh, that guy, like if he ever moves to the U.S., I'm done." uh, really praises. I forgot the name of the guy, but it's easy to find. But what I was gonna say, yeah, on the other video in which he's in Europe, um, and he plays, and I what's the name of that? And I drink a little too much, and I smoke a little too much. The end of a love affair. He plays the end of a love affair, and he introduces this idea too of like instead of just playing the two, the five, the one, he does like, and it's the next time he does. Basically, so it's not exactly the same thing. What he does in this, the end of a love affair, and he explains it. It's really cool the way he explains like what to do, much better than I explain. But he on the end of a love affair, he's doing like a half step thing up, you know, before just doing. He's doing okay, but on Set and Doll, he's not doing the same thing. It's that's a 2/5 in F, right? So what I think he's doing this. And what is that? He's thinking of, instead of the 5 of the progression is C. Instead of C, if you're thinking as tritone sub, it should be F sharp. If you have and then you can replace the entire 2/5, instead of playing the 2, the 5. You can play the 2 relating to the tritone sub. Which sounds really cool, right? And then that's the sound that I hear because yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just like it's almost like the sound of the altered, but starting with a note that's not on the altered scale. That's just like thinking in C sharp. It's like the Dorian, C sharp Dorian. Wow, that's a lot of time speaking about one line, but it's worthwhile. Wes Montgomery, big shout out. That's the thing about I get a little bummed out when people talk about Wes, and it's like, oh yeah, the Wes Montgomery thing. Like, I feel bad that I know what people mean by that. They mean the octaves, right? Which he did often, true, and also like a structure of like starting a solo with playing single lines and then going into octaves and then playing chords, right? And then harmonizing the chords with the diminished, which is cool. He does all that, but to me, what I think it's really the most important thing about Wes Montgomery is just like how fluent he is as a soloist, as an improviser. If you just listen for that, it's ridiculous. How the ideas flow. So, improvisers like any of the great improvisers ever. Sonny Rollins, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Cannonball Adderley, Charlie Parker, Johnny Griffin, did I say Coltrane? Just melodies just flow out of them. And that's the thing that I think should be talked about on Wes Montgomery more, than, because those things are kind of easy to emulate and sound corny. He doesn't sound, but you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to say that Wes Montgomery, if you just listen for his lines, how fluent it is, how gorgeous. Alright, I'm talking about Wes, so I don't feel like playing now. Because it's gonna be worse, but I'll try to play something. Okay, a lot of double time. Don't blame it on me, blame it on Pat Martino. That song is called Moon, something about the moon. Oh man, it's by Henry Mancini, and it's not Moon River. It's Moon. I knew I had it. I was like, I'm gonna forget it, and then I remembered, and then I forgot. But it's Moon something, and I was talking about Wes. Wes has a beautiful, beautiful version of that, and but then Pat Martino also has a great recording, and they're very, very different from each other. Martino goes for the my professor Chip Stevens. Big shout out Chip Stevens. Second time I mentioned him on this thing. Um, he calls it like the Pat Martino machine gun, something like that. Like, yeah, give me some bullets. Meaning like this gigantic long lines, you know. That's one thing that Pat Martino is really, really good at. Um, some people don't like him because of that. I like him because of that. Uh, but Moon, what's the name of the song? Moon. Oh man, I don't think it has words, so that's why I'm not remember. Um, But one thing that I wanted to mention, though, speaking just to close it out, thank you for joining me. Uh, I'm here every Wednesday, Jazz Guitar Hour at UIS on the same channel, UIS Music. It's been fun. I've been learning a lot about how to, you know, spend 1 hour talking about improvised subjects. Uh, yeah, and oh yeah, I was gonna mention the solo guitar thing. That a few like Joe Pass is probably the first name that everybody thinks of, but worth checking out George Van Apps. That's another one that well known for playing solo guitar. But two guys that are not well known for playing solo guitar, but have done incredible things. Wes Montgomery, back to him. There's what's the album in which he plays. I'm not gonna remember the name of the album now. There we go. There goes my memory. But I know that it's the album in which he plays a really gorgeous version of "The Way You Look Tonight," and it's fast as hell. And he's speaking. He's like, it's in there. This is quarter notes, but he plays the melody filling in with quarter notes, like. Boom. But but in between he maybe he's. It sounds like Pat Martino actually. If you check it out that recording, I'm sure everybody who has a brain is influenced by Wes, and I'm sure Pat Martino was influenced by Wes a lot. And but he plays one of like those really fast single line things, even with the thumb, like. Better than that, he does. But it's worth checking out. So on the same album, if you Google, of course, everybody knows how to find stuff nowadays. If you really want, you find it. The same album that Wes recorded, "The Way You Look Tonight." It's an organ trio album. I wish I could as soon as I end this thing, I'm gonna remember the name of the song, the ballad that I played, the Henry Mancini ballad, and I'm also gonna remember the name of the Wes album. But I gave you enough information. uh, on that same album, he plays. You should check out the version of the ballad, the Henry Mancini ballad. You should also check out his playing fast on "The Way You Look Tonight." And the other thing you should check out is he plays a solo guitar thing, and it's gorgeous. Just the way he moves the voice and everything, it's completely different than the Joe Pass thing. Actually, Wes sounds kind of futuristic. Sounds like the things that Kurt Rosenwinkel is doing. And if you hear Wes playing just chords, just solo guitar, it sounds like he's thinking ahead like 40 years. And yeah, and the other one that also not super well known for solo guitar playing, but when he plays solo is always killing, like beautiful, Jim Hall. And I'm gonna close with that, and I'll see you next time. Tell your friends, tell your enemies to join us here. And yeah, I'll see you next Wednesday at 6 p.m.